Good evening, everybody. Oh, sorry, Pranavanda. I hope we are all well. I've just been kind of going over the scheme of work with Beth with regards to what we're looking at tonight, and it is quite a lot. So I hope it is of benefit to you. For those who've not been to one of my sessions before, I do have a habit of going at a little bit of a pace. Now, the sessions are recorded, and Beth will make sure you've all got access to the recording afterwards. However, I really appreciate if you just drop a little message in the chat box and just say, "Can you go over that again?" I also really enjoy when people ask questions. It helps me. Um, so if you have a question, if you have a query, will it do this? Will it do that? How could I do this? Again, please pop it in the chat box, or there's a Q&A box, and I'll be more than happy to go over it and support you. Now, what we're looking at tonight is we're looking at AI and AI tools. Um, I want to kind of move away from purely just do this for me, from purely just generation of ideas. I want to look at it from the perspective of a more creative side in terms of developing and supporting your own role as an educator. And I've kind of come at it from the perspective of where have I found difficulties in my role and how has it helped me? Now, for those who haven't been on here before, what I will do is I will share my screen and I'll walk and talk through it. Again, any questions, pop a hand up and I'll come back to it. What we're going to start with tonight, though, is, and I'm going to have to share my screen for this next bit. Let me just get this back up. If at any point I do say, by the way, look at my screen and I'm not sharing my screen, you'll have to shout to me. So hopefully you can see my screen there. Now I'm going to be looking at a tool called Grok. Now grok.com does come, as soon as I said who created this and whose company designed this, Beth straight away went, ooh, and it is Elon Musk's SpaceX company, or XAI, which have designed it. But there's a reason why I particularly like Grok AI as opposed to the ChatGPTs and so on. It is still free, but it does still have elements on it which I think are really beneficial. Now, one of the first things I will stop sharing. What I want to look at tonight is, for some of us, we still use what's called, and hopefully you can see it here, a notepad. And I use a notepad all the time. I'm not a really big one for making notes on a computer. I make notes by hand. I make notes using my computer. And what I like to do is I make notes and I drew little drawings and bits and pieces. And this is actually the way in which I plan my lessons. When I'm planning a lecture or a conference presentation, I will write my lecture notes and I will draw my slides like so. And what I will do is I've taken a screenshot of what my notes actually look like, and I'll show that to you. Because what happens very often is that we'll have an idea in our head, we'll write it down on paper, because sometimes I always find that works a little bit easier for me. But I want to go, well, how can I use AI to take it to the next level? So what I'll do, if I just share my screen, hopefully you'll be able to see it in a second. So what you'll be able to see, there you go. So this is a presentation I'm given, and these are my handwritten notes that I've made on a notepad just very quickly. It's using my handwriting, which, as you can see, is not the neatest, but roughly that's my notes put together. Now, what we can use AI for is to use those notes and help it to create digital format from it. So let me just share my screen because I'm going to start with using Grok AI for this. So on the main home screen for here, I'm going to go to attach and I'm going to upload a file. And then what I'll go to, if I go to my desktop, I'm going to go to Grok PPT because that's the name, that's the file name that I called. So what this is doing here is I'm now just going to ask it all questions and it can read the image I've put into it. So I'm going to put into it, I have created some PowerPoint notes with slides. Please turn this into a PowerPoint file with relevant text. There we go. So what it's done now is it's read that image that I've given it, and though it can't generate a direct PowerPoint file, what it's done is it's gone through and it's read the picture that I've made. It's read the text that I've put there. It's taken the headings that I put in there, and it's created, there we go, my PowerPoint slideshow for me. And that's based off a scribble drawing that I made very quickly. Now, what it's done here is it's done it quite basically, but what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to say, can you turn this into just text so I can upload myself? Because I will need to add more bits. But you've got there straight away. There we go. There's my slideshow. And that's based off quick notes that I've made in my notepad. Now, the things like with Grok AI and ChatGPT is that you can get these on your phone. So I had to email the photo across, but you can just take the photo on your phone, get it to create that, email it across. So I can now, from my handwritten notes, just copy and paste that over. I've got my slides and then I can build from it and I can design from it. That's a really quick way of retaining the traditional methods that many of us may have had and going a little bit further with it. Now, let's think about the amount of times that we've been to those meetings. And I'm often one for going to meetings, and I'll make a ton of notes in a book, and then I will never look at that book ever again in my life. So, last 2 weeks ago, I had the joys. I went to a first aid training program, and here are my notes from that first aid training. This is one of the days. As you can tell, I like to quite a visual person with how I did it. So these are my notes that I made. Now those notes will more than likely stay in that book and probably not see the light of day. But let's say, for example, I want to use those. I want to take it a step further. So again, what we're going to do is exactly the same as last time with Grok AI. What I will do is I will share my screen back. There we go. I'm going to go back to the image at the bottom, upload a file, go to my notes, and I can do a few things with this one. So using the notes provided, create a key overview and also build in some targets for me to take forward once back to the workplace. So again, what it's doing now is it's reading my notes. Now you may go to a meeting where you've taken minutes down, or you may be, if you're off campus or you're off site and you're just making notes by hand and then you've got to go type it back up. Well, actually, you can just scan the image in quickly. There we go. It's taken that picture and it's put together all the clean notes that are really important for me very quickly. And it means I'm not wasting time having to handwrite all my notes. Or what often very happens, and especially for me, is that I make the notes and they never see the light of day. I've now got key information. It's actually looked at what's in there and it's made a little guide for me. You know, if I want to go a step further with this, I can go create a quiz worksheet for staff, you know. So now what it's done is, there you go, based off my notes that I've put together, it's made a little quiz worksheet for me. There's loads of little things, really. This is particularly useful if you go on training days or, like I said, if you're off. I used to work a lot off campus where I didn't have Wi-Fi, so I'd make loads of notes and I'd spend bags of time going back through. bit of a pain personally. So using the images is a really good kind of tool that helps speed up efficiency. You can connect this to your Google Drive as well, or your Microsoft Drive. So if you do want to add bits and pieces, you can do. You can also, if you use an easel, I wouldn't personally recommend with the draw a sketch. You can add that one in there. So I can draw a sketch. This is useful. Say, for example, you want to make a model. So let's say I want to draw a Venn diagram. I don't know. I'm not very good at these. I would personally, so uh, turn this into a professional working model for a presentation. So you can draw them in if you want to. Uh, Personally, I would really only do this if you've got the ease or something, because what it will do is, yeah, it turns it into some quite obscure abstract art. So that feature's not amazing. It's really kind of, you could go, okay, I would like it as a technical blueprint. Um, so now it's created this for me. So there's lots of little bits on there. Um, there we go. But really, again, think about what you're going to use it for. Now, the other thing with Grok AI, what it can do is it does do a lot of editing of images and stuff. So let's go back to one of my original files. Let's say I had my notes, which was that bones one. So what I can do is I can add a picture in there. So I've attached a picture. Let me just double check. There's my notes. So I can edit this image to look like it is in hands of a doctor in a medical unit. So the image on here is actually quite good. It can, that's because I didn't add anything in here. Let me try again. Many apologies for this. So I'm going to upload a file. What you may need to do, if it does give you grief, just go to new chat at the top. I'm going to upload a file again. There we go. Edit the image to look like it's in hands of a doctor in a medical unit. So there you go. So it can adjust it. I've done this, one of the kind of, when I was prepping for this one, I turned it into like an old map. So if you've drawn something, say you've drawn the designs of your school just very neatly, you can have it then look like it's in an old map or something like that. So, it does have quite a powerful engine in there, which is really kind of useful. So just while it's doing that. So can I add video to presentation? So it this one at the moment, unless you pay for the full version of it, which is Grok 4.0, it doesn't create videos. There are a few out there which do create videos for you. I'm not looking at those yet, but the Grok 4.0 does create videos for you. But this one at the moment just does simple images, which is quite useful. But I will certainly be doing one on videos at a later stage. Now you have got on the, thank you for the question, by the way, it's much appreciated. You have got a few bits on here that you'll definitely see at the bottom. So think is quite a useful one. If you wanted to really consider the answer, it will take a little bit more time on there. And then again, deep search is if you wanted to really look into it. Now, for sometimes some of the stuff you're doing that are not so useful. Let's say, for example, I'm doing quite a heavy amount of research. I want to really delve into certain topics. I'll probably go to a deeper search for us. Okay, that's working at the moment. So while that's working in the background, I'm going to open another window and we're going to little delve. We'll come back to that later on. Just before I move on, are there any other questions about, especially with regards to image creation and taking physical images over? Is there any questions at all on that? If there are, just pop them in the chat box for me. No, brilliant. I hope that that is quite useful for you. So, other bits and pieces we've got on Grok that I find quite useful. So the next one we'll look at is workspaces. Now, with a workspace, oh, sorry, will it animate a series of still images? Grok 4.0 will. And there is another tool I'm going to look at. We're going to do a whole session on videos and the video editing. But the more expensive one does. It's mostly the power of the engine it needs. So it uses a lot of energy to animate them. But yes, there are lots out there, and it will turn them into GIFs. So if I just take a basic one, if I take a basic image, oh no, if I take this one here, uh, animate this image to a into so boxes. So what it would probably do is tell me that no, you've got to pay for the full one. Oh, okay, it'll work. It'll try and work. It's kind of good. It's not great. So with the free one, what it will do is it will just create kind of two-dimensional, very simple objects as opposed to the animation, the expensive one. But there are other tools out there which we will look at. Okay, so next bit I wanted to look at was the workspaces. Now, workspaces are basically, let me just create a new workspace. New workspace. And what you create with a workspace is effectively like a persona. So I have a range of different workspaces for different personas, for different tasks. So when I'm working generally with an AI tool, it will answer it as it believes the answer should be, if that makes sense. But what I find very often with the workspace, I can actually turn it into a persona. I can turn it into a style of person. So the example I always give with this one is, let's say, for example, you've got an Eston inspection coming up, or you've got Eston coming in and they're going to do an observation of one of your classes. So this workspace here that I'm going to create is I'm going to make this an Eston inspector. So I'm going to set up instructions for this workspace. So I'm going to say you are a Welsh Government. Oh, helps if I can spell. Eston inspector. You will use the following text to support your answers and critique. Then what I'll do is I've got here the inspection framework for Eston. Now, you may also wish to refer to, so let's find something else. Let's find it. There you are. I'm going to take this Eston inspection framework from YouTube. I'm going to save that. So now what I've done is I've created this engine where it can only refer to and get ideas from the documents that I've put in there. It can't just go randomly off into the internet. All the answers and all the critique it will be based is off that document. So let's say, for example, I have a lesson that they're going to come and observe, and I want to just make sure I'm right on my game with this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to attach, and I'm going to add into this a lesson plan that I've got. So there's a lesson plan. And there they go. So I'm going to say, based on this lesson plan that I am delivering to the Eston inspector, what elements are positive and what elements need further work linked to reasons why they may critique. So what I'm doing now is I've actually created myself a critical friend. And the critical friend is now going to look over my lesson plan. Again, what they're doing here is they're looking purely at those documents only. They can't make up anything else. So they've gone through, they've looked at the lesson, they've looked at where they've liked it. At the moment, they're working purely off the strengths, and you can see how they're linking it to those ESTIN inspections. It says there, page 16, page 11, page 10, exactly where it is referring to. But then it's looking at where that lesson plan really falls down. So it's picked up quite a few things, the time management, and again, it links to where it's going to be picking it up in the standards. It's the underdeveloped critical analysis, limited use of resources. So I've now got an ESTIN inspector at home who can look through. So I can have a discussion with it. Based on some of these ideas, given that I cannot change too much, where should my focus be? And I can have this real discussion with it. And what it's doing now is it's going, okay, these are sorts of things that you should really be focusing on. And straight away, like I said, you can see it's got that element there. You can put the Ofsted documentation in there. But what it does is it starts to now give me ideas and I can start to make changes. So what I may do is let's wait for it to go through. It's giving me a lot of information, a lot of guidance. So if I say at the start, I am planning on taking students outside to talk about their feelings. How do you think this would work in the lesson as a change? So I'm just going to have a discussion with it. And it's going to go through all my ideas and it's going to have this discussion with them. So I've now talked about what I'm going to do instead. And it's going to go, okay, if you're going to do that, make these changes here. Think about this, think about this. But it's basing it purely from the perspective of being my ESTIN inspector. It's also going to realise why actually taking them outside is going to be an absolute nightmare, especially where it's already picked up things such as time management, logistical feasibility. Yeah. So I've now got an ESTIN inspector on my computer who's going to help me. And I can refer back to them at all times. Right, enough of that. Talked far too much. So what other workspaces can we create? Well, one of my let me just turn that. I'm going to keep that person. There we go. Let's go to my other workspaces. So I want to add another workspace. Now, who here, as a show of hands, and this is where I get really disappointed. Who here, let me just quickly stop my screen. Show of hands, who here has heard of Sir Ken Robinson? Thank you, Dawn. There is faith in the world. Okay, homework, and Haley, thank you. All right, homework for those who have not. Go watch Ken Robinson videos. Yes, Sarah. Ken Robinson, for those that don't know about it, Sir Ken Robinson. Yes, Elizabeth, thank you. He's an absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, he passed away about 5, 6 years ago. Absolutely fantastic educationalist. He's brought one of the highest watched TED Talk videos about the impact, the issues of creativity in schooling and education. He's done a great deal for the arts and creative skills in schools. And personally, he's just he's probably one of my favorite writers. He wrote a fantastic book, which right now has just gone out of my head, but all about where people get their out of their minds. Absolutely fantastic guy. And I'd love to have his creative knowledge, his creative skill. Now, I can't have discussions with him, but what I can do is, though unfortunately he's not with us anymore, I can create him as a persona. And I'm going to have Sir Ken Robinson, there's his video. I'm going to have Sir Ken Robinson now as my critical friend, and he's going to help me in my job. So I'm going to create here Sir Ken Robinson. Now, what I will do is I'm going to have it here. You are Sir Ken Robinson. You will be supporting me with creating creative ideas, classroom, moving away from a didactic approach which has plagued my life. You can go for a creative license. Your ideas based on the following key sources. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build Ken Robinson in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, this is a fantastic YouTube video. So let me just pop that one in. Let me go to, this is a paper he wrote to the All Our Futures, to the government. Let's go to his website. So I'm going to go to his website. I'm going to pop that in there. And then I am going to go to his Wikipedia page. I'm going to pop his Wikipedia page in there. Let me just put another. Oh, he's lovely. If you do get the chance, if you've got any spare time, please watch that one there. Absolutely fantastic video about very funny, very light-hearted, really enjoyable. Okay, so now I've got Ken Robinson, and I'm going to take the same lesson plan from earlier. So I'm going to upload that lesson plan. And I'm going to put in here, I am needing help in making this lesson far more creative. What can I do? What activities need work? So what I've got now is I've got this, again, it's this critical friend from another perspective. He's now going through using my lesson plan based purely with the brain from all of his key information he's got in there. And he's already straight away picked up a number of good things. He started to move in some certain ideas. And then straight away, he started to put together some ideas, some instantly very creative methods that have changed ultimately that lesson. That lesson plan, if you is all a lecture. It's all just chalk and talk. But what he's done is he's gone through and he's picked up based on his own ideas of what creativity is and the value of creativity and how we use it. He's built in a huge amount of different activities for me based off that original lesson plan. So I've got this critical friend now that I can always refer back to. And it doesn't even have to be about text. I can ask him any questions really. So let me just, okay, blimey, there we go. Perfect. Blimey, chill. I'm going to stop him there. But I can ask him other questions, so let's say, how can I support myself as I am struggling with new ideas? Now, if anyone has seen this, there is actually quite a lot of information that's out there about how actually sometimes a lot of people are using AI to really understand from a counseling perspective, from a support perspective. But actually, I've now got this AI persona. I've got this person who uses the ideas that they generate from all their research, from all the bits that's out there. Yeah, so it's quite a nice little tool to have out there. You don't just have to create an Essay Inspector. I've now got personal Sir Ken Robinson on my desk. Uh, but the key thing is making sure you get a lot of information in there. So other ways that we can use this, again, going with the workspaces, I created one here where I created Owain Glyndŵr. So I said, say for example, you want to have a bit of fun with students. So I've created a workspace where I've put all the information in here, in which I've got from Wikipedia, BBC, you may have other websites, all about Owain Glyndŵr. And what I can do is I can have a conversation with Owain Glyndŵr. So maybe ask in there, how do you feel about the English? Ah, now one of the things I did do with this earlier is actually you can have it in other languages as well. So I'm going to stop and I will go back to Owain Glyndŵr. I'll show you this one. So back in instructions, I put on here, your answers should only be in Welsh. Um, the great thing with this as well is it will create it in different languages. So maybe it's quite safe that I had that answer to that question in Welsh. But you can have it. You should be. Maybe I can have bilingual Welsh and then English. Let me just change that. Hit save, and then I'll put. How do you feel? As long as do. Your answers should be brief and suitable for a 10 to 12-year-old child. There we go. How do you feel about the English? There we go. So now I've got my persona of Owain Glyndŵr. I can ask any questions, all right, and it will answer it. Again, using purely that information. I've got this chat bot here. So what do you think of cars? There you go. So it's created some little fun bits and pieces for us there. Those of us who are Welsh first language or Welsh speakers, if that's okay, what I'd love to do is love to get your perceptions on what the translation is like on this one. If you can give me just in the chat box, because I've tried doing a reverse Google search on it, and it's always a bit funny when you do a reverse search on it. So I'm not sure whether it's useful. But if anyone is Welsh first language and they're able to kind of tell me whether it's okay or pretty good, it's always quite useful. But it does do quite a few other languages as well, so it's quite useful for that. So that's workspaces for us there. Before I move on to the next element with this, are there any other questions at all on workspaces and creating personas for using AI tools? Again, just pop them in the chat box. I'll be more than happy to answer those questions for you. It's a good translation. Brilliant. Thank you, Catherine. That's really appreciated. I think there's been a lot of work on Welsh because even the Microsoft one's actually getting a lot better. So that fills me with a lot of confidence, actually. That's quite a good translation. Brilliant. So there you go. Persona's really useful. Okay, let's go back. Our image, it's not, if the image doesn't seem to have fun, what you can do, um, yeah, I certainly wouldn't copy and paste without knowing what it's saying. I'd get someone to do that for me. Okay. Let's go back to our main screen with this one. I'm still playing with Grok. It says that you can attach Microsoft OneDrive. Is this secure? Yes, because it doesn't permanently attach it. All it does is it still has to go through your login details and stuff, and it doesn't save the login details. Now, what you can do, if I go to my settings and I go data controls, what I can do, I've actually turned off here, improve the model. So it may be something that you want to do because what that means is it doesn't record anything that I put in there. So again, when you go to your account, I don't have Twitter. Um, you can adjust bits and pieces to it, but it doesn't save that data. I've got that turned off there. So if you are a little bit worried about that one, you can do that there. Okay. So other bits and pieces it's got on here, which is quite useful, are the tasks. So daily tasks, if I go to these are a few bits and pieces. These are really kind of useful for if you want something regularly. So I can actually, so let's say, for example, I want to schedule a task in here and I want weekly, let's say by Friday, I would like find uh, and summarize relevant policy changes or information regarding policy shift in post-compulsory education in Wales. I can have it as a deep search, and actually I can get it also to email me when that comes through, and then I can create that task. Now, what that'll do is every day, I will have to delete that later on, but what it will do is it will automate and find all this key information for me. Now, this is particularly useful. Let's say, for example, you're doing a research project. If anyone here is going on to do a PhD or an EdD or anything like that at all, one of the things that I found when doing mine was um, I'd be like a year into it, and suddenly there'd be a brand new policy come out which I hadn't realized. Or if you're in your setting and you want to know if something's changing or something's new and emerging. With a scheduled one like this, it means that all that information, you don't have to actively find it. It will just collate it for you. And then it will give you a message and say, by the way, I found 10 articles online, 10 policies, which are all related to this for you to have a quick scan over. And what it does is it collects all that key information with the links to where it is. So I've got one of these, I've got another Grok account which I use, and I've got it set up for exactly policy shifts. Because one of the things I found when I did my work a couple of years ago was I got to a point, and then I remember someone turning around and going, "Oh, but how's this new policy impact it?" And I wasn't aware of it. So you may think of something like that. Really useful bit of information that's out there. Now, with the free one, you can schedule 2 of these. So maybe if there's something else that comes out, you can put those in there, and it's quite a useful little task for you. Okay, so before I move on to the next one, the next tool, are there any questions at all about Grok? I really do rate it as a tool, regardless of people's perceptions of or what you think of Elon Musk. He doesn't really do anything with this, it's just this company. So any questions at all with Grok before I move on to the next element? Please pop it in the chat box and I'll happily support you. Okay. So the next one I'm looking at is one that comes from Google. And I've spoken about it before for those that have called these AI tools, but for those who haven't, I still think it's one of those really valuable ones. And this is called Notebook LM. Now, Notebook LM, very simple to the persona element, is a tool which I'll just very briefly stop share. It's a tool which uses the information that you provide it, but it has got a few extra features which are not always available on others. So now I've got this one. I'll show you why I stopped this earlier. So Notebook LM, you input basically source information and you create a screen for it. So I've just added some sources in here. So I've got some journal articles that I'm working on at the moment, all about teaching. There we go. And what I'm going to do So at the moment, I'm looking at gender roles and technology in higher ed, and I can add other bits and pieces on here as well. So I can connect it to my Google Drive. I can add YouTube videos. I can actually paste text in. It doesn't allow Microsoft Word files. So if you do want to input text, either put it on a Google Doc or paste the text into there. And it allows up to 50 sources for you. Now, what Notebook LM does is very much like the personas we had with the last one, it will build based purely off that. So what I can do is I can ask it to provide a key summary of main facts. So I'm just going to go back and go through there. So it will go through all that source information. Now, again, the key thing with this is, and what I'm really kind of looking for is one of the most important things when using AI tools is about validity. Now, the great thing about inputting the information yourself is that it can only refer to what you have provided in there. And if you are a little bit unsure about what the validity of it is, it will give you the sources. There you go. So you'll see here like a little citation, and that'll take you exactly to where that quote or that sentence has come from. So if we say technology self-efficacy is to find an individual's belief in their ability to successfully perform. Okay, so where's that come from? So I can click on the source. It will take me straight to where that's come from. Really good if you're putting together lots of information together and you want to find where it is. And again, make sure, I think as Alex was saying, I wouldn't copy and paste without knowing what it's saying. This is where that allows that. The one thing a lot of time people do with especially ChatGPT or anything is they take what they see at face value. With something like Notebook LM, it's only going to be based off what it creates here. And that's really important. Now, the other thing with Notebook LM, what it will do, and the reason why I shared this, is it generates, for those who haven't seen it before, actually, I'm going to stop that one. Let me just go back. It can create audio podcasts. Let me just go through. Okay, it's generating a conversation. Now, sometimes we've got a lot of Word files, and what we don't want to be doing is sat there just reading through it. And I know for a lot of us, for myself especially, I do like to listen to a podcast or listen to key information. Now, what it will do with this is it's creating an audio overview, and it's making these in basically it's like a conversation between two different people, and it's creating this conversation. It does take a few minutes for it to make it, and I will allow it to play around with that one, but it does do it in like a discussion where it will share the ideas on here. So if you've got a lot of information that you need to read through, let's say again, it's a policy document, you can pop it in there and it will have it as an audio podcast for you. So while it's doing that, because I thought I'd pop on here, let it go through, I'm going to pop back to our Grok AI because there was an element that I did miss with this one, because I always miss the math teachers. So I'm going to go back to my workspaces. So again, popping back to workspaces again on Grok, many apologies for this one. I just wanted to show another feature with it. What I looked at with this one, I created here a maths teacher. And it's something that you may want to do with your students. So like we did with Lorraine Glendor, I made a math teacher whose knowledge was purely on simultaneous equations. So I gave it a load of websites here. And I can give it instructions, such as you can't give the right answer or anything. But what they can do with this one is I asked for it to make a worksheet with 5 questions suitable for a student doing the GCSE revision. Now, what I added into here as well was the attachments. I put the GCSE math spec. I found one from 2015 as an attachment. So let me pop that in. There we go. So what it's doing now, based off the GCSE mathematics specification that I popped into it, and all that information, all those websites, it's created this document for me. So again, it's that whole thing of where having the worksheets is quite useful. Again, it's a critical friend. It makes sure that what I'm doing is linked to it nicely. There we go. The one thing I would definitely say with Grok over ChatGPT is it's quicker. There we go. So it's now made a worksheet for me that's suitable for GCSE with the answers and the step-through guide. Now, what I can do is, based on this worksheet, provide some suitable guidance to go alongside to help students when they complete this at home. Okay, I put at home, but hopefully it will work out that that's meant to be at home. So I've now got this PDF document that I can download. And now I've got a little guidance that's made to go alongside it for the students. And maybe you want to give this persona to them where they can ask it questions or they could put an answer into it. So let's say if we go question 1, I put X is 2, Y is 1. Okay. So it's still putting together a nice little guidance sheet here to help support students, which is quite nice. But again, it's just another little additional feature to really help us. It's also put a lot of information. Okay, far too much information. But I can really kind of build on this. Okay, super. Let's see if this is generated. There we go. Okay, so this is what I mean by the generation tool on this one. So in the meantime, while it's been doing that, it's now made this AI podcast, and hope you can hear this. So if you do have sound on, you may want to turn it down a little bit. But I'm just going to give you an example of what this is made based off those papers. Worksheet suitable for infants in maths with pictures. Let's see if it does that. There is another tool that does make that one. I think with this one, it keeps it quite simple sort of thing. It will just make quite a plain one for here, but let's just see what this one creates. Again, if you are looking for something that's fun and do that, I really rate Canva. Canva's got a very powerful AI tool which you can actually drag and drop the information in, and that will add it for it. But great question. Can it make a worksheet suitable for infants? Infants doing simultaneous equations. Let's find out. I'm intrigued. There we go. Okay, so it's had a moment. It's gone back now to its basic model. But I would really rate definitely Canva would be the best one to go through with that one. So here we're back on Notebook LM. Apologies for the jumping between. I just didn't want to waste loads of time while that was rendering in the background. So with Notebook LM, we've put the source material in and I've asked it to make a podcast here. So if you can listen, if you can hear it.
You know, the hum of technology is just, it's an ever-present backdrop in our lives, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Especially when we talk about education and whether you're, say, a student, an educator, or
There we go. Okay. We just
you know, the hum of technology is just, it's an ever-present backdrop in our lives, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Especially when we talk about education and whether you're...
Whoa, did someone just break the fourth wall? Let's hear it.
So what we're looking for as well with this podcast is really to think about how that moves forward. There we go. So
You know, the hum of technology is just
you can actually mix in to the podcast. You can actually join in with it.
Developing their own conceptions. Technology here actively supports student collaboration and creation.
There we go. So you've now got an audio file, which I can download. I can share it. I can provide it as a link to our students. It's a really great way of just adding additional information here for students. So, if I want to give them, if rather than give them loads of written work, I may want to give them a fun little podcast to listen to. I may want to say, Jot, listen to this article here. Now, I was just double checking at the same time. I know that in the future they are looking to let's delete that one. There we go. We're going to customize it. I can make it nice and short. Now, I'm not sure. What you can do is you can add information here, but it did say something about potentially doing alternate languages. I know it's something they were thinking of bringing in the future, but I want to know whether it can. So focus on gender roles, technology, presents in the medium of Welsh. Not sure whether it's got that. I know it's something because it's still in beta mode. It's something they're really looking to develop, is actually having it in the medium of Welsh. But again, if you're looking for creative, alternative way of doing this, you've now got a bit of information here where I can go draw. I'm going to give you an audio file. I've done this in the past, but I've had students who have wanted an example assignment. And I'm not a massive fan of giving them preloaded material. But what I will do is I'll go draw. I'm going to pop some students' work, some previous students' work as a source material, and I've made a podcast for them. And I've gone, there you go, you can listen to this. And I'll ask the co-host to think about, to critically examine what are the key features that my students spoke about in their assignments. And the learners who I've given it to have really enjoyed it. Maybe I've got some really a Wikipedia page or a really interesting article about a person from history or an element from geography, and I can have a podcast for them. It's a nice way to just bring something new in for our learners. Other bits and pieces that this will do, what that Notebook LM will do, is it will take information you've got, it will create visual imagery. So say, for example, if you want it to make, so I'm making now a mind map. So say, for example, I want it as a revision tool. I can use it as a mind map. It'll make timelines. There we go. So look at, there we go. So it's a very basic one because of the topic here, but it's gone into the key information. This made this very quickly here. But again, I can click on the image and then I can go straight to that source material. This is particularly useful if you've got your own research that you're doing and you want to find where that source is from. So there we go. Especially if I'm looking at, so if I go back to it, if I'm writing a key argument and I'm saying about the importance of practice embedded settings and how teachers should enact instruction with their students, and I can find exactly where that's come from. So it is quite a useful tool there. If you've got history documents, yeah, brilliant for SPLD. Yeah, apps. John, I was just going to come to that as well, Helen. Yeah, for those who want those visual imageries, visual tools, absolutely superb for that one. I can also make study guides from it. So if I'm putting information in, I don't want to give them the answer, but I can make crib sheets for them, crib notes for them. And it's a really useful tool there for them. I'm interested to see whether this does this in Welsh. So I do want to hang around a bit for it. So again, really useful with this one here. And I can download this as a PNG file, so an image file, which I can put onto my Google Classroom or my Moodle or Canva. So that file will be there for them. It's a really useful way of putting bits and pieces together. This is what the study guide looks like. So it's made like a little quiz for me. It's made some questions that I could potentially answer. There's a huge amount very, very quickly. And it's kind of given me some ideas. And I can combine the two. So if I want to get Ken Robinson to help me out with planning it, I've got that nicely there for me. Before we go, I'm going to come back to that, because the last thing I want to look at is a tool called GPT-0. Let me just, there we go. Now, AI has fantastic potential. And that's the one thing I will always say with it. It is going to be around for a long time. It is an absolutely fantastic tool for it. But what we're going to make sure is that it doesn't take over from original creative thought. And in fact, we use it, like I've been using it tonight, as a support mechanism, as something to help me. Now, GPT-0 is a great tool to have, because it doesn't just, it's not all about catch and kill, but what it will do is it will look at text that's been provided and it will kind of go, is it quite AI-y? Has it used AI too much? So what I'm going to do into this, I've taken a bit of text that I know has been used. It was created by a human, but it was adjusted through AI. It was checked for grammar, spelling, punctuation. And what it's going to do is it's going to scan this for me. Now, what it does is quite nicely from this one. I'll just pop in, so let's put in. Yeah, so if you are, someone's just put a great question in there, which is about if you're making a presentation in a subject, be really specific with what you're putting in there, because otherwise it will just make it very general. Specifics are the most important element with regards to using AI. Thank you for that. Okay, so this is the text. And what it's told me is that it's been lightly edited by AI. And it's looked at the sentences that are featured. Now, you can log in, you can get an educator's account if you've got a .ac.uk, and it is free for you. But it will go through and it'll give you a little bit of information on your writing feedback. It will look at where the features are, where it's the AI sentences or specific AI words. Because this is one thing I will say, there are phrases which are, or sentences which are very AI driven. If I see a dash, that's normally an indicator for me that that's been created purely by ChatGPT, predominantly. ChatGPT loves a dash, but also very kind of maybe say romantic style language or adjectives or adverbs which are just really out of place. So ChatGPT-0 is one on there which, if you are a little unsure, it just gives you an idea. Or if you've used AI to help support your writing, it's a good way to check over and go, okay, has it been, is it too much? Now, be careful not to get too stuck on this one. If you've written a piece of work yourself and you know 100% you've written it yourself, don't worry too much about it. It's about making sure that, just double checking sometimes. Here we go. Let's see. Has it done it in Welsh?
Being less capable with tech.
How does that get reinforced? I mean, where do
No. Okay, so that's a disappointing end to it. So it hasn't done the languages. I don't know. I'm gonna look at that one later on. That's gonna give me something to do later. I'm gonna look at seeing how can I get it in Welsh. But what I would just love to say is, hopefully there's some really useful bits and pieces for you to go forward and really play with. If you do have any questions, again, please drop me a message. I'm always happy to answer them. It's the end of the summer term now for the university, so bags of time. But I hope that was really useful for you. If you have any questions at all, please pop them in the chat box. I'll be hanging around for the next 5 or 6, 7 minutes. Thank you again for coming along, and have a lovely rest of your evening. So thank you so much, guys. Thank you.